Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the reigning, defending, undefeated podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with the elbows of knowledge. And I'm joined, as always, by the man, the myth, the legend, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing on this Sunday fun day, brother.
Sunday fun day. And Saturday was a
That's
fun
right.
day over at the UFC Apex. All is done and dusted, and that's why the Ground and Pound podcast has a full recap video in case you missed any of Saturday's action of Vettori taking on Dolidze 2. And not a bad card overall. I think we did reasonably well on what was pretty chaotic, to say the least, in terms of our picks over on the Ground and Pound podcast. Ended up breaking even on the best bets video, which wasn't the ideal start, but we move on, we press on. We've got a London card coming up, so hopefully we can make a little bit more money there. But overall, Carlos, what did you think of the card, and what would you grade it? An A, a B, C? What did you think?
I mean, I'll go with a C.
Mm-hmm.
C was fine. They were entertaining fights. They were good. Um, like you said, I'm a purist. I could watch fighting all the time, don't matter who. I'll watch street beefs and still be entertained. But the fact of the matter is like there was some high level guys coming up that you could see like they were overmatched, and then there was a couple of fights that were you know down to the wire. Like, they were pretty close each round. So
Mm,
it wasn't bad overall. I thought it was very entertaining, very competitive.
mm.
Not a bad, especially the main event. It was a lot more competitive than I thought it was going to be. And then after a certain time, it went one sided. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. I'd probably give it a C, and I'm right there with you, man. UFC, PFL, street beefs, roast beef, doesn't matter. I'm all about it. I'm definitely always down for fight night, and yeah, in case you missed it, we're gonna go through the whole entire card, starting off with the early prelims, which unfortunately we'll get the sad moment out of the way for UFC bettors who joined the best bets video this week. The dog of the week streak is over. We had to put the dog down. The operation was a success, but the patient died, unfortunately. And Duben, I mean, she got caught with the head kick. I mean, hats off to Carli. She was able excuse me, Cardi, not to be mistaken for Cardi B, but yeah, she was able to land that head kick, get her first win in the UFC. Um, I think, to be honest with you, the story of this fight to me just simply came down to the fact that Cardi came out early with pressure, and I think it just kind of overwhelmed Duben a little bit early on. And I think Duben was looking to kind of do exactly what I said in the best bets video, which was to kind of take her time and kind of get into the fight a little bit slower and kind of pick her shots. And Cardi kind of just swarmed on her, and I think she picked up on the fact that Duben was kind of leaning to one side, very similar head kick to the Leon Edwards head kick on Usman. And yeah, I think she just got caught, and unfortunately, the dog of the week streak has come to an end. We had four in the row with Justin Gagey. We were hoping to make it to five with Duben, but we'll like I said, we've been on a hot streak as far as picking dogs for the best bets video, and I got a good one for next week, so we'll get right back onto that. And yeah, Carlos, what did you make of this performance?
It kind of went the way that I thought it should go.
Mm,
I didn't think it was going to go that way. I thought Dubin was going to be a lot more in your face, trying to cut the distance. But, you know, being a technical striker, I was kind of expecting her keep the distance.
mm,
But in a lot of her last fights, I've seen that when she strikes, she comes forward. So, she stuck to her game plan, staying outside, trying to avoid Dubin's power. Worked out great. And Dubin could not see that kick coming. I think she landed another one, but it didn't quite land
yeah.
right before then. It was a question mark kick, just kind of touched the shoulder. And I was like, oh no, she's gonna get caught at some point. And unfortunately she did. Uh it didn't look like she was out like, for a long time. So that's good. She'll recover pretty nicely from it, I think, pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, losing for the first time and losing by KO. We'll see if she comes back from it. I'm sure she will. She looks like a tough kid. So
Yeah.
good job by Judice.
Yeah, and Dana would have to agree. One of the four that got a bonus. So hats off to Cardi Judice, got 50 G's, baby. And as far as Duben's concerned as well, like we can't win them all at the end of the day. Streak did come to an end, but hats off to Judice for getting it done.
Judice got the knockout of the night.
She got a 50K bonus. She didn't get performance of
Okay.
the night, but funny enough, I'll tell you who did. Priscila Cachoeira got the performance of the night, so she got the 50 G's as well. But in case you missed it, she came out first round, and they both traded on the feet. Nunes looked a little bit sloppy, I will have to say. I think she was kind of swinging a little wild. I don't know if that was just because of the fact that she faced or felt a little bit of Priscila Cachoeira's power earlier on in that fight, but Priscila came out and dropped her, and she was out pretty bad, to be honest with you. My boy Tyone had to come in and save the day, and hats off to her. And I just wanted to kind of add a little bit too, is I wrote the title of Addicted to Knockouts, and that's what you get when Priscila Cachoeira fights. And she talked a little bit about, after her victory post-fight, about how she battled with an addiction to drugs, and she wants to try to get as many performance bonuses and as many fights in as she can so that she can raise money for a foundation to help people with addiction. And she was basically explaining about how, you need to value yourself and believe in yourself, and she hoped that performance could show that. So hats off to her. I mean, she came in and proved the point, and you can see what happens when the opponent can't take Priscila Cachoeira down. She's got power on the feet, and Nunes has never been knocked out before, but there's always a first time, and clearly Saturday there was that time. So she got performance of the night, 50 G's, baby. And what did you think of the knockout, Carlos?
I was surprised it took her so long to land that uppercut because she kept throwing straight right hands, and I was like, I don't see why she doesn't do it, because Nunes was leaning over as she was swinging. So I was like, none of those punches that she was throwing actually posed a threat to Cachoeira. And then finally she throws that uppercut that gets her out of there. And it was just funny. I actually rewinded the video and I said, hey, Pooks, look at it. Look at her face. She's out. And she was just staring somewhere up at the lights. And, don't want to make fun of it, but she was out. So it took a while to get her back up. Cachoeira can hit.
Yeah. Nunes as well, like, I'm not going to lie, like, even the commentary team pointed this out, that, like, she was swinging so wild that she was kind of, like, looking off into the distance with her head down and everything, like, swinging, like, kind of like Homer Simpson, but she was pretty much just fishing in a bathtub with those right hands. She was having no success. She was not going to find the target and find the mark, but hats off to Priscila. At the end of the day, she did what she was supposed to do, and like I said, it's one of those things. It's funny where she's got a clear weakness. When you take her down, she has a deficiency in her ground game. But when it comes to the hands, she's no joke. So, happy that she got on the mic and preached something, a little bit more positive and a little bit something that she wants to do in her future career with helping other people fight addiction. And at least that money's going to go to a good cause. Next up, we had Andre Lima taking on Daniel Barez, and I got to say, this performance actually impressed me, because Carlos and I on the Wednesday, I know we both said, I feel like Barez has got, fairly live as an underdog here. Lima proved me completely wrong. I thought this was going to be a much closer fight. I was very impressed with the performance. For those of you that missed it, on the feet, he was going to the body, ripping to the body. He's throwing the kicks, throwing in combinations, and right when you think, he's having so much success on the feet, he's going to get a knockout, he manages to get a takedown and get a submission in the third round. And he also got a performance of the night bonus, 50 G's, baby, for him too. And I was surprised. I honestly thought this was going to be a much closer fight. I thought Barez was going to put up much more of a competitive fight. But what did you think of Lima's performance, and what do you see for him in the future?
It was a very good performance. I don't know what exactly happened to Barez. I'm not saying that he's a great fighter, but this was a good test to be like, you know what, if you can do everything correctly, you should be able to win this fight. And I thought he was going to give a little bit more resistance to Lima, but I don't even think Lima had to fight with his hands up. He actually had the nerve to put his hands up to block some of Barez's punches. Every time Barez was throwing punches, kicks, elbows, anything, it didn't even phase him. Like, I don't know if you noticed that too. Like, it had no effect. Nothing kept him off. He was swarming the whole time, and it wasn't like what I thought he normally does in his fights. He was swarming him, but he was walking him down and picking his shots. And yeah, it was a good finish. I didn't see him actually taking him down. I thought he was going to finish him on the feet,
Yeah.
but that was and that takedown was very easy. So,
Mm.
there's a lot of upside, and I can't wait to see who they're going to give him next.
Yeah. I felt like Lima coming into this fight, in my opinion, the narrative on him was he's a little bit overrated. You see 10-0 and you kind of think, well, yeah, but his performances haven't been all that so far inside the UFC. But this one kind of put people on notice that, he's well-rounded. And what I really liked as well was when he's throwing combinations, he's going up top. He's not just headhunting. Like we've talked many times on recap videos now where, just for example, like the Santos and Diaz fight we broke down a couple of weeks back, and they constantly go into the head, whereas Lima was able to mix in shots to the body, as you can see on your screen, mixing in takedowns. He's really using all of the tools that people need to do in MMA. And what I liked as well, which is why I put very impressive, was once he got the fight to the ground, he didn't lay and pray like Carlos and I always talk about. He actually went for the finish and was able to get it. So you're sitting there thinking, like Carlos said, that he's going to get the knockout, and he's able to transition, get a takedown, and transition to the back and get the choke. So very impressive performance. 50 Gs, definitely a worthy winner there of the 50 Gs from Dana. So pretty impressed.
Let me tell you, that takedown and the choke was very merciful of Lima. So,
Yeah,
so
it was.
Barez should give him a little bit of his purse for that too. That was very nice of him to do that.
And speaking out, giving out purse, Sam Hughes came through for us as a plus 200 dog for the best betters, one of the more successful bets that we had last night. And I just put pace and pressure for the title of this one. Sam Hughes was able to get it done, and I do have to admit, I did think that Luciano probably won the first round on the significant strike. She was landing a little bit cleaner, but I think ultimately the takedown in round 2 and the control and the damage, I think one judge gave it a 10-8, which I didn't necessarily. I don't know if I necessarily agreed with a 10-8. I would have said 10-9, but she definitely was getting close to a 10-8 in my opinion. And like I said, she came through and was able to get the decision just purely with her aggression, her forward movement, and her ability to just push a pace. And that's what Sam Hughes is known for up until this point. And sometimes girls just aren't ready for that. They come into the UFC and they don't know what to expect. And Sam Hughes is the ultimate sort of gate guardian to the UFC to find out if you're actually on that level. And she came through as a dog for us. So, like I said, another best bet that was able to hit this week. And overall, Carlos, what did you think of the performance? Did you agree with the decision? Did you think Sam did enough? I know that third round was relatively close, but
Yeah, that it all depends on how you scored that third round. And as I was watching it, I didn't necessarily think it was a 10-8 round. But when one of the commentators actually said, if you could possibly score that second as a 10-8, I was kind of surprised because, as I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, well, they were there were some clean elbows that were landed, and she was in a position to not defend them. And I want to say maybe 10. And then when she actually propped her body up a little bit, she was able to sit up. She ended up eating like another 5 elbows. So I was kind of surprised the ref didn't jump in because that's a lot of elbows to eat in a row and not be able to put your hands up to defend or get out of the way. But uh, if you wanted to say 10-8, yeah, I guess with that said, I guess you could give it that. But I would have been perfect. I would have been perfectly happy with a 10-9. I don't know if anybody else thinks otherwise, but I at the time I wasn't thinking a 10-8 round, but I could see how it goes that way.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It wasn't quite enough for a 10-8 to me, but it was definitely close. I agreed with the sentiments of you could score that at 10-8, and obviously one judge did, and that was obviously the deciding factor. And I do believe it was a split. I mean, one judge gave it to Luciano, one judge gave it to Sam Hughes, and then the other judge came in with that 10-8 round and gave it to Hughes. So not complaining. I think I want to say, did you pick Luciano or did you pick Hughes in the end? I can't remember on the breakdown. I know that
I
I
picked
picked
Hughes.
Hughes. Yeah, I was going to say I'm
I
pretty sure
picked
we
Hughes.
both
Yeah.
did pick Hughes. So it went our way for the picks too. So 2 for 2 from the Ground and Pound podcast there too. And the real big upset of the night, this one was, if you missed it, and there's a couple of highlights that you want to go back and watch, I definitely recommend this one. So we had Vera, who got a performance of the night bonus against Musasa. And we were talking about this one off air, and I'm going to pass this one to Carlos to kind of talk a little bit about, but a little bit mysterious, right? Like Vera kind of came out before as a little bit of a butt scooter, a guy that just generally known for his jiu-jitsu, but came out throwing wheel kicks and all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, what did you think of this one, Carlos? What was your take on this one?
Well, that's kind of what I expected too. And in his past fights, I sat down, did a lot of video research on him because I know his ground game is dangerous. So if Musasa got taken to the ground in any way, which I didn't see that was going to happen, um, I was just like, okay, so there's your threat of getting submitted, but there's no threat of being knocked out. There's no threat of, on the feet. And I watched his past fights, and he can strike. Like he strikes fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But he was very technical, but technical to the point of he threw his punches correctly, he threw his kicks correctly, he threw his knees right. He didn't really throw it to hurt you. In this fight, he came out like an animal. He was swinging his punches, trying to get him out of there with one shot. He was throwing his kicks, trying to get him out of there with one shot. And to be honest with you, this kid is a little piece of steel because the two kicks that he took in this fight, he should have been out on both of them. And it's the choke that got him out of there. So, he's going to be the kid will come back. He'll bounce back fine. He's raw. He needs a lot of work. He needs a lot of work and how to defend. Right now, he's just going on toughness and athleticism and brute strength. So he'll be back. He'll be fine. Vera, on the other hand, I kind of want to see who he's going to fight next and see, like, was this a fluke? Did you know that you had more experience than this kid, that you can get away with that? Were you just exploiting the openings that you knew were going to be there, which is fine. That's fighting. But do you have what it takes to be here in the UFC besides being on the ground? Because on the ground, he's world class. But when it comes to the UFC, it's like, do you know how to fight? And last night, he looked like a world beater against this kid. I don't think he's a world beater, but I'd like to see what other matchup they can give him.
Yeah, for sure. I was just surprised a little bit about sort of the depth of his ability on the feet. Looked way better than I was expecting it to. I wasn't expecting all of the kicks, and I noticed that they said at the start of the fight when the guys were walking to the cage that he's a Taekwondo black belt and all this. And you hear the guy, you hear the commentary team say all these credentials to the fighters, but fact of the matter is that when they get in there, that's when you really see what the levels of black belt and how good their black belts actually are. And my whole thing with this fight was, hats off, like you said, to Musasa. He took two on the chin, two kicks to the face, pretty heavy. And I actually noticed as well, when you see his face when Vera goes in for the choke and he tries to take his back, and Musa looks visibly hurt. Like he put up no sort of defense when it came to the ground game. And I don't necessarily think that was down to the fact that he doesn't know how to grapple. I think he was just completely dazed by the kick still. And I just wanted to let everybody know as well that obviously if you do tune into our Wednesday full card breakdowns, that one of my buddies actually sent me his bet that he did from his research on our full card breakdown. And he bet $10 on Vera by first round submission just purely because of the research he did through our breakdown of this fight. And I actually said to Carlos, he reminded me of what I said. He was basically implying that, he went with the bet because of what we talked about. And I said I thought Vera was either going to find the submission early, or I thought that Musa was going to find the knockout early. And it played out that way, and the odds were in favor for the first round submission. I think it was something like 11-1 just for the submission, and he played first round, and he got a payday. So lunch is on him next time I see him. But yeah, I mean, hats off to Vera. Like I said, I'm interested to see who he fights next. And now that you know that he can strike a little bit, that might help him set up the takedowns a little bit more to show off that world-class jiu-jitsu. But he was the last of the four that got the performance of the night bonuses. So not only did he get a nice performance, he got 50 G's to boot too. And all of that excitement, we move on to dominant but boring. And you have to kind of feel for AJ Cunningham in this fight. Pretty much got dominated from start to finish. You was able to take him down on multiple occasions, and normally I talk a lot of shit about the women's fights being bathroom breaks, but this one was the one where you kind of you go pick a snack or you go take a nap, because this one was pretty boring. And you was able to get the takedowns and do a lot of control and just kind of hold AJ Cunningham down. And the story of this fight ultimately was, how was AJ going to look fighting down from lightweight all the way to bantamweight. He didn't look terrible. I think his cardio and everything held up. I just questioned. I think there was a big skill gap between the two guys, and you have to feel for him, just considering everything that he's been through in his life and so far in his career. That you're rooting for him, but unfortunately he was outclassed on the day by a better grappler. But what was your take on this fight?
I don't know if he was worried about the takedowns. Because he fought like he kind of was. I was expecting him to open up a little bit more on the feet, and maybe just on the feet, maybe he wasn't seeing what he'd like to. What I do feel is that since he's been signed, and I heard that I think it's Sean Shelby or Mick Maynard, one of them is very high on him. They think he's got great talent. I think that they're getting into his head that, hey, you're good, but you need to be more technical. If you want to survive, you can't just eat shots with your face and come forward and throw. You gotta learn how to fight. And I think some of that is what's in his mind, because it looks like he wants to let something go, and then all of a sudden he hesitates. And he's a kid that knows how to fight. He just needs to know how to fight better. And when you're trying to learn how to be more technical, you hesitate a lot. Could be that, or it could be that what was the guy's name? He was that good at taking him down that it posed that threat, and he didn't want to overextend himself. Because I've seen other fights of Cunningham, and not in the UFC, but he was able to unload. He was able to unload, get off, and throws punches when he felt like it, throws kicks or strikes, whatever it is, when he wanted to. But in this particular fight, he didn't let it go. Even against Ludwig Klein, he let his strikes go, and he was able to have a little success and land. But in this one, nothing. So there's something there, something mental that he's got to get over. And, hopefully he gets over it soon, because I don't know, is this his second loss in the UFC? Yeah, he's got to put something together soon, or get back to some of his old ways at least. But good performance by you, though.
Yeah, you did what he had to do, and I think it's fair to say that AJ training with Bryce Mitchell, you'd think that he'd fight with a little bit more freedom. Anyway, moving on. And that sound is pretty much the exact noise that I wanted to hear when it came to this one, because Carlos knows I'm famous for my rants, but what the fuck was Ryan Superman Spann doing? I'm going to kick this one off, and I'm just going to say that obviously Waldo Cortes-Acosta and heavyweight is Ryan Spann's fucking kryptonite, because I noticed on the scales, this is when my whole rant was pretty much beginning, was when I watched the weigh-in show, and Ryan Spann looked visibly overweight to me. He didn't look like he was coming in at like 235, and he weighs in at 240, 49, we'll call it 250. And he honestly looked like a guy that was like, yay, I don't have to make weight anymore. And he just looked like he'd let himself go. And I don't know if Carlos shares the same feelings. I'll ask him in a second. But he pissed me off more due to the fact that he didn't look like he took the fight as serious as I expected him to. I thought he'd come in rejuvenated, 230, 235, in shape, still looking lean, visible abs type of thing. And I thought he'd put it on Waldo Cortes-Acosta, and he turned out to be very wrong. And I was very surprised, to be honest with you. I honestly think that he has all the talent in the world, which is why I give a fuck, basically, about the guy. I think the guy has all the potential in the world. I just think he can't put it together. And the commentary team talked a lot about, his anxiety and being very mentally, having sort of mental issues when it comes to the anxiety of fights and putting it all together. And he needs to figure it out, because it wasn't it on Saturday. And I just felt like, he didn't take punches well. I felt like a lot of the time that he didn't even make any attempt to shoot for takedowns. He didn't try and mix anything up. And You always know as well, and this is just a general rule of thumb, that when a fighter is complaining about eye pokes, complaining about groin shots, and just overall looking for the referee to kind of bail them out, you can tell that they're not in the right headspace. And I don't know what it is, because his talent is there, but he was not in the right headspace. Maybe it was doomed from the start. Maybe the move up to heavyweight wasn't it, but Superman died on Saturday as far as I'm concerned. So Waldo Cortes-Acosta did what he was supposed to do, and I don't know what the fuck was up with Spann, but what was your take on Spann's performance, Carlos?
Um, First of all, like the physical appearance of how he came in, I'm like, he may be about 230, maybe even 240, and cuts down to 205. Because you got to remember, he's got that 6'5" frame,
Yeah,
and putting on an extra like 10 pounds or something like that. What is it? 10 to 15.
yeah,
It's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? He just knows he's not going to look like like he did at 205. So that part didn't bother me. It actually looked like he came in pretty decent shape cardio wise, because he was throwing good, he was moving smooth, or maybe that could just be because it was the first round. But after the first exchange in the first round, you could tell he was going to lose that fight.
mm,
He hits Waldo. Waldo kind of stumbles, and then he hits Waldo again pretty clean. And he has to come in to do that a little bit more. I don't know why he has to come in, but I guess he feels it. He's got to step in a little bit deeper to throw those punches, so Waldo catches him in exchange. And as soon as you see how his whole body reacted to the punch, you're kind of like, yeah, he's going to go out soon. Waldo's just got to wait for the moment to catch him again, which is kind of sad, because I'm like, he's 6'5". I think it was 80-inch reach, something like that. The reach was almost the same.
mm.
Um, he's so much faster off his first step. He's so much faster off his first movement, his first two or three movement. And you allowed yourself to get, like I said, Waldo sometimes has a way to lull you into a fight, because when you think you're going to end this fight with a punch, the way I said it to you yesterday, is because I hate to say Waldo has good boxing, because it's not boxing. Like he does do good with his quote boxing. Okay, he jabs a lot, and then off the jab, he'll see like what it'll take to land his right hand. So that is boxing, but it's not very pretty.
Mm.
And when you watch this fight and you look at it, you're like, why couldn't Ryan Spann do something different? If your hands aren't landing and he's landing on you, add some kicks. Did nothing. I think he threw one or two kick. Did nothing else. If that's the case, you have the submission abilities. You have the ability to take somebody down. Go ahead, take him down. I think he attempted one takedown, and then they went up against the fence and against the cage, and that was it. He didn't try it again. So he's like, well, let me go back to what's not working. I'm going to try to go punch for punch with this guy. And that's what kept him in the fight. And Waldo, good job. He was able to exploit the opening. But when you think about it now, I think Spann is done, because I'm like, okay, he's probably going to be someone in the heavyweight division where if you beat him, you're going to move on to the next guy, because you know that he's talented physically and you can get beyond that. Like a gatekeeper. But other than that, I'm like, what other job is he going to have there at heavyweight?
Yeah.
When you watch his older fights at 205, you realize he just overwhelms people with power and speed. And if you weren't overwhelmed by that, you could get him out of there. And that's what people did. And they started to figure out the better competition he was facing. So I think he's fought the same way the whole time. It's just now I think the mental part of it is getting to him, because maybe on the street people are like, oh, hey, hope you're recovering good from that knockout or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what people say to him when they see him,
Yeah.
but he's getting stopped a lot. He's taken a lot of losses when he should be winning. And being in the public eye is embarrassing. So if you have anxiety now to add to that, yeah, I think he's done
Yeah. Yeah.
for somebody that talented.
And also as well, we talked a lot about Ryan Spann, and I just wanted to touch on the fact that Waldo Cortes-Acosta is somebody that I've not rated highly so far within the UFC. But at the end of the day, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and I mean, the problem I had, and I texted this to Carlos after the fight, was I don't really know how much what that does for me as far as stock for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I don't think I now rate him higher because he beat Spann, because Spann is so inconsistent that it's like, do you really rate that win? And then if you look at his record before the Spann fight, it's all against losing record and old guys. So it's hard to really put my finger on whether I think Waldo Cortes-Acosta is actually good or not, because Spann was that bad to me. So I still don't. I'm still not the biggest Cortes-Acosta fan. I still don't think that he's all that. But at the end of the day, he did what he was supposed to do, and he got the win. So back to the drawing board for Spann. But yeah,
The only thing I'm going to tell you is when it comes to a fight where it's going to be on the feet, and that's kind of what made me take uh, Acosta, is when it's a fight that's going to be on the feet. You have to kind of look at him as possibly a favorite. And the only reason is because if you're going to sit there and go punch for punch with him and throw a couple of kicks here and there, he's going to get the better of you.
yeah,
Unless you're Tom Aspinall. You know what I mean? Like, unless you have those physical gifts that you can put him out, you can move around, light on your feet. He's going to get the better of you. Why? Because technically, he's better than most heavyweights, and he's a big guy. And when you watch most heavyweights, all they want to do is throw punches because, they can't bend over and touch their feet. They don't, once they're on their back, they're a turtle. They can't get back up. That's why, like, the heavyweight division isn't as talented. Like the guys that are at the top are definitely meant to be there. The guys that are on the bottom are without question meant to be there. They just need names and opponents for people, so they keep them around. But Waldo will be around too for a while because he's going to be another test for those guys. Spann will be the first test. Waldo will be the next test, and that's how that's going to go. But he's very tricky with his striking, and it all starts with that jab. If he can jab you, he can probably win the fight.
So what you're saying is Waldo the journeyman Acosta. That's what I heard.
I'm okay with that. I'm assuming. I mean, he should be okay with that too. But I'm
Yeah.
assuming that his ground game is not anything stellar. So if
No,
he's on his back,
I think that's spot on. If I'm being honest with you,
yeah,
I think your assessment of this whole fight is pretty spot on. I think how you broke down Spann's inability to be able to take punches and what he looked like, and your assessment of Costa, I think it's spot on as well. I think you broke this one down perfect. If I'm being honest. And that brings us now to the main card, and we have Kevin Vallejos, a name that all week has troubled me and probably will still haunt me. But yeah, I mean, he did it for us. At the end of the day, we picked the under 1.5 for him. He torched Choi in the first round, which is exactly what I thought was going to happen with that overhand right. The commentary team actually even pointed it out before it happened that he was looking for that overhand right, and Choi gets hit far too often, and it was very much a 1 + 1 = 2. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight in this fight was he got on the mic and he said, he wants revenge for that Gene Silva loss. And for those of you that don't know, he's 14-1, now 15-1. And that one lone loss is to Gene Silva, who's obviously a monster so far in the UFC. He wants revenge. So right now he's looking like Rocky IV. He wants to hunt down Gene Silva and get that matchup and get that one back. So I'm excited to see that fight. I don't think that they'll do that fight straight away. I think he'll obviously have to win a couple more fights before they do that matchup. But that might be a fight night, an Apex Fight Night main event in a couple of months, a couple of years' time. Who knows? But great performance from him. Obviously, he cashed the prop that we had in the best bets. And I'm really impressed with this guy's boxing. I know that Choi was very hittable and he's been dropped many times, but I've been impressed with this guy from tape study, and I think he's definitely one to watch. What do you think, Carlos?
Yep. Right after I watched the performance of him, and I turned to Pooks and I said, "Hey, not that he's Mr. Taporia," and I said, "but what I like about him is that he stays short, compact." I don't know if you've watched any of his other fights prior to the UFC, but against guys that like to kick, he will sit there and check it. Like, you know what I mean? He'll actually turn his foot out to it and just come in and slowly wait for the opening and go after you. And he'll clinch you too, like as close as he gets. If you're taller, if you're short, whatever, he'll clinch you. Those are things that Taporia does to cut the distance because everybody's got a height advantage over him.
Yeah.
He's tiny but mighty, and so is Vallejos. So what I think is he's got a lot of upside. I think that Gene Silva fight will probably happen, probably within the next 2 years. Silva, he's on route to be champion in that division. I don't really know too many. I mean, Lopez is good too. I'll say that, but Silva's a monster right now, and he's putting everybody out. So you know what? I can't wait to see this fight when they fight again. And I think it'll probably happen in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think Kevin's definitely got to build some momentum in order to chase down Gene Silva because he's looked pretty untouchable so far in the UFC. But it's definitely something to watch for. And I just wanted to say before we do move on, were you okay with the stoppage? I know you texted me halfway through and said, were you okay with the stoppage? I felt, as you can see from the image, I mean, Choi was kind of curled up and covering up and taking multiple shots. Did you get a chance to see that stoppage and were you okay with it?
Yeah, I was okay with the stoppage when it happened. I just thought it was a little. I was like, yeah, it might have been a tad bit early. I don't know. Give Choi a second, but if you gave him a second, what exactly was he going to do
Hmm.
to change the outcome of it? If you gave him a second, was he going to roll to his back and then it was going to be over? So I don't know. Roll to his stomach. So yeah, I was pretty happy with the stoppage.
Yeah, nothing was going to change even if you read him a bedtime story. So good performance.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't give him a bonus, if I'm being honest with you. I thought considering that they're probably going to market him, I'm surprised he didn't get a bonus. But maybe in the future, I think this guy's definitely going to be getting bonuses in the near future. Next up, really, really surprised by this performance, actually. And I don't know why I was so surprised. I think it was more to do with the fact that Diyar missed weight by 5 pounds, or maybe even more. I think it's 5.5 pounds. But he was getting beat on the feet by Brendson Ribeiro. Ribeiro was having success on the feet, which kind of surprised me. And when you see the Kazakhstani guy, the Diyar, when he started wrestling, the Kazakhstani style you always see coming out of the Russians and a lot of the Middle Eastern guys is, when they're having success on the feet, they mix in takedowns. When they're not having success on the feet, they still mix in takedowns. But once Diyar mixed in the takedowns, that was all she wrote. Ribeiro was able to, switch position and sweep with a Kimura, and he was able to get that. And he, as Khabib would say, your boy tapped like chicken, and that's exactly what happened. And he made him pay. So not only did he get half of his purse, I believe it was, for the weight miss. It may have even been a little bit more because it's such a drastic weight miss. But he also got the win bonus too. So hats off to Ribeiro. He got a payday and made Diyar pay. But I was kind of surprised that Diyar just kind of looked a little bit out of it on the feet. He looked slow. Obviously, we don't know the reason for the missed weight. And I did notice, I found it kind of interesting. I don't know if you saw this, but Hulk, Bruno Ferreira, was actually in Ribeiro's corner. So obviously they must be some two guys that trained together, which I wasn't aware of. So Bruno Ferreira, obviously, if you guys didn't know, he got a submission the other week, and now Ribeiro's doing the same thing. So obviously those guys train together and work on their ground game, and obviously it paid off. But what was your take on this one, Carlos?
Well, I got to say I was impressed. That OMG right there on the screen will tell you. I was very impressed by Ribeiro, and it's only because like I was thinking he was going to get put out in the first round.
Hmm.
That guy Diyar, he's slow, but I was like, the way that Ribeiro fights, I go, you don't have to be fast to catch him on the chin. He's going to put it out there for you.
Hmm.
Apparently not. So hopefully these two wins get him going because just like Ryan Spann, this kid is very talented as well physically.
Yeah.
He's fast, he's quick, he's explosive, he's got power, and he's good on the ground as well as jiu-jitsu. So I go, why would you struggle so much to find these victories? And now they're starting to come around. So hopefully something changed, mentally inside him and he's starting to get on track. But yeah, I thought it was a good performance. What I was kind of surprised that was Diyar was a Sambo champion.
Really? I
I
didn't
don't know,
see that.
maybe 2-time, 3-time Sambo champion. And I go, what are the Russian fighters looking like these days? Because if he's the champion and he's so damn slow, I'm like, I just remember when Fedor was a champion,
Yeah.
and that guy's fast and he's an animal. So, but then that doesn't mean anything because look at that guy. What's his name? Blagoy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he's a national, Sambo champion as well. So just because or Pancrase, that's what he is, Pancrase. So it's like, even if you come from a background of mixed martial arts, pretty much, it doesn't guarantee you a victory. And I shouldn't have been so easy to write off Ribeiro. Good job. Way to
Yeah,
shut me up.
I got to admit, I was surprised, but I've definitely I've always considered Ribeiro to be a little dangerous. When you watch tape on the guy, you know he has all the tools. I just think that he wasn't able to put it together earlier on in his UFC career, and he's obviously putting it together now. And good performance to him. And another guy you could make a pretty good case for the bonus, but obviously with the weight miss, he obviously made a little bit more money than what he was going to. So hats off to him, and we have to keep an eye out for Diyar. And whatever reason he missed weight, keep an eye out and see if he actually makes weight in his next fight, because it was a pretty big miss. So, and next up we had DaMon Blackshear finding the sub, and I wanted to ask you this because I feel like the Kimura isn't a submission that we see very often, and then all of a sudden we see it a lot, all in one evening. Obviously, Blackshear as well, getting the Kimura victory, tapping, making Cody tap like chicken. And I was pretty impressed. I mean, if for those of you that didn't know, we had him as the prop in our best bets, plus 300, DaMon Blackshear by sub. So that helped us out a lot for the bettors that follow this channel. And it went pretty much exactly how I kind of broke it down. And to me, Cody, we know, is going to initiate the wrestling, and we knew that he was going to find himself in scrambles, but DaMon Blackshear is no joke. That's why I put he does it again, because whenever it seems to be that this fight gets to the ground and Blackshear's on the ground with anybody, he seems to be able to find a finish, whether that's submission or ground and pound. But he seems to like the choke. I think they said something like 11 victories now coming by submission. And the thing I like about Blackshear, and this is what I look for in tape study with guys as well, is he loves to throw ground and pound to help soften up his opponent to get the submission. You see too many guys where, you know, they're constantly looking to pass, or they're looking to play jiu-jitsu on the ground, and they forget that they can open up with strikes and elbows and, soften up their opponent, which sets up the takedown. And I like that about Blackshear. Is something that he really looks to do, which is an underutilized skill set, I think, in MMA. And again, I think you could make a good case for this guy getting a bonus, but he cashed for us, so that's all we really care about. But what did you think about the performance, and what's your take on the Kimura situation?
I thought his performance was pretty good. I mean, Gibson actually came out pretty decent on the feed, so it took him a second to slow him down. But then after that, it was all Blackshear. The Kimura, I was kind of surprised at how he finished it,
Hmm.
because he didn't step over. That was all core and arms that finished that. And normally that's not how you would, quote, technically finish that submission. So I'm surprised he was able to get enough crank on it to get the sub. Um, I I felt for Gibson, like one of the guys we were talking about, like Hollabaugh, kind of wanted to see him do good, but you knew he wasn't going to do very well against Blackshear. Blackshear actually started changing this fight around on the feet and then took it to the ground as well. So
Hmm.
it was a good performance. I was happy with it, and I was just kind of surprised because watching it, I was like, oh, he's not going to get the finish, and he just from the position he was in.
Hmm.
Now with Kimuras, most people use them just to pass, like to get off their back. Um, Obviously, he wasn't in any danger to have to do that. He just put it on him. But I just thought if you saw Kimura again within the night, just luck, I guess. Like I don't know how to describe that. It's just, if the submission's there, you take it. If he had it, that's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for another way, but
No, I understand.
if it's there, it's there.
I
Yep.
understand. I the only reason I questioned it was just because I feel like I've watched so many martial arts events, UFC events, PFL, whatever, and you don't see the Kimura getting the finish very often. You tend to see guys being able to do what Diyar tried to do, where they kind of roll over and give up position in order to defend the Kimura. So I was just surprised that they was able to get two Kimura finishes back to back on the same card. But this card was full of pretty crazy performances. But go ahead.
Kimuras are very difficult to finish just because you got to keep me from straightening out my arm. And, I've had some big guys on top of me, like trying to keep me in a Kimura. And, I just happen to be a kind of big, strong guy too. And there's no way they can keep my arm bent like that. And Blackshear, good technique, black belt. He had that shoulder, that arm tucked in, which is more important than anything is to keep that elbow bent at that 90. And if you can go a little bit further than that, bring it in. And once you bring it in past 90, it's going to be harder for the guy to actually like extend his arm. So, I mean, he did everything he was supposed to do. I was just surprised at how he got the finish, but that's how you usually see it is people use it to defend from standing. People use it to change position. People use it to get a better position or out of a nasty position. So, yeah, I was just kind of surprised that he got the finish there.
Yeah, for sure. You heard it here first, guys. Carlos had big men on top of him. No, but I do agree
Yeah,
with you.
that's all I got. That's all I had for you.
I do agree with you though about the Kimura thing. It is hard to finish, which is why it just kind of surprised me. So I had to get your take on that. But one thing I did want to get your take on is the close decision between Hernandez and Holobar. And this one, I didn't have a problem with the decision, but obviously it's something that we talked a lot about off air. But I'm gonna let you go first. And what was your take on this fight? And did you agree with the decision?
Agree with the decision. It was a close fight. I just it all depends on how you value the position, especially in the first round. Second round, I would say was definitely was it Hernandez? Now I'm drawing a blank. So I thought
Holobar.
first round went Hollabaugh.
Third round went
Second round,
Hernandez.
third round went Hernandez. What was second round?
Second round was Hernandez got the takedown halfway through the round. Holloway was winning the
Okay,
striking. But one judge gave
okay,
Hernandez all 3 rounds. I just want to say that. The one judge gave
yeah,
Hernandez
yeah.
all three.
I kind of my brain just went for a second. So yeah. So as I'm watching it, I'm like, all right, it can go either way, depending on how you want to score the last round, or even depending on the first round, whatever. Yeah, it was the first round, I think, with the takedown at the end. And they gave it to Hernandez. I was okay with that. We picked him to win. We thought his pressure, and when I say pressure, I also believe the wrestling. He would be able to dominate that. I also thought that Hollabaugh, once the fight got to the ground, that he would be pretty live for a submission right there, and he's very high level as well when it comes to that. But he also loves to stand and bang, and I thought he was getting the better on the feet as well. And fight could have went either way. If it went to Hollabaugh too, I would have been happy. But I'm happy that it went to Hernandez because it makes us look good. We picked the right guys, and this was a tough card to pick them.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have a problem with the decision, and again, we both picked Hernandez, like Carlos said. But my biggest takeaway from this was two things. One, hats off for Hernandez to identify in the middle of a fight while he's getting beaten up. The striking's not going his way, so he mixes it in because a lot of the time we watch fights and guys will be continuing to try to use the same game plan even when it's not working. So hats off to him that he recognized that he was able to mix in the takedown. So give credit where credit's due. Alexander Hernandez does get a lot of stick for his cardio and his performances in the past. So hats off to him for that. But the thing I wanted to take away is how did one of the judges score all 3 rounds for Hernandez? Because Hollabaugh won the first round very, very clearly to me. You could argue the second round, which we could talk about for hours and hours. That Hollabaugh won a lot of the striking exchanges in the early part of that round. Hernandez did not win all 3 rounds. That's a ridiculous scorecard. I don't know who it was, but I don't know what they were watching. But yeah, I thought that Hernandez probably won, and Carlos and I debated this one a little bit as far as how you score that second round. But wasn't mad about the decision. I think he just ended the round on top, which stuck in the judge's mind. And I would have probably stood 29-28 with the second and third round for Hernandez. But ultimately, that final decision of 30-27 from one of the judges, I think needs to be fucking investigated because there's no way he won all 3 rounds. But yeah, hats off to Hernandez. He did what he's supposed to do, and you got to feel for Hollabaugh because 38, not getting any younger, and somebody who's been around for a while, kind of like Cody Gibson, come off the Ultimate Fighter, and you want it for him. He's got a big family that's interested in martial arts, and they run a gym together. So you have to think that he's kind of coming towards the end, maybe, and I'm not sure how many losses that is in a row now, but I think he might only have one more fight left on his contract too. So And that brings us to the co-main event, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang getting it done in the second round, I believe it was, with the knee. And when asked about it afterwards, he came out and he said, "I don't remember what it was that landed. I don't remember kind of what it was." And my question to you, Carlos, is: did he see red? Did he get the finish? But he saw red. He wasn't really there. He was blacked out, and he said that he didn't remember the knee landing, and he wasn't even sure, and he had to ask. But end of the day, he got what he was looking for with the finish and the win. And he missed weight by, I think it was like half a pound or a pound. So he said that he had some issues on the scale, but he'll sort that out. He's a veteran, and he won't have an issue moving forward. But yeah, what did you think of the performance? And do you think that was actually a real thing where he didn't even realize what landed because he sort of saw red or blacked out? I know we've talked about that in the past.
No, I mean, just from past experiences, like, if you hit somebody with something, it's usually the strike you hit them with that knocks them out is the one that you didn't even feel it. Like if you're trying to open up somebody's guard or something and you're throwing heavy punches, heavy knees, you feel all the ones that land but never gets them out of there. But the one that actually lands, it feels like a hot knife through butter. That feels like there's no resistance. It's a very weird feeling. So sometimes if the guy just doesn't know, because he may have thrown another strike after the knee and thought that's the one that got him out of there. He may have thought the knee came up, he tripped, and then he threw another punch, and he may think that's the one that did it. But normally the strike that hits somebody is the one you don't feel yourself. The strike cuts right through him so easy you don't even notice it. But so that happens a lot. And if he's not really paying attention, like he's just like in survival mode, I just got to throw. That's another reason why that could be. I think what he meant in that was he didn't set anything up. He just threw it. It connected. So he's like, I don't know. I just threw it, and something hit him, which is that's Chidi's attitude. That's what I like. He's not trying to be too technical. He's not trying to act like he knows how he's setting everybody up. He's just like, hey, I throw. If I hit you, it's over. And I was kind of surprised that at his age, going down that extra weight, but he also said he's not a very big 185er. So coming down to 170, I understand he had a hard time cutting that extra like half pound or whatever, but he was able to do it. He's fine. And he was able to make it. He didn't really take any punishment. So, and if he did, not coming down that much weight, like not cutting that much weight, I think he probably would have taken any strike like a lot better. He looked like it was very hard to take down. Plus, Dos Santos also doesn't have very good takedowns either. He just kind of muscles you up as best as he can to the cage to take you down.
Yeah.
I wanted to take Chidi in this because I go, when they get close is when Chidi gets very dangerous, and he's also very long, so he's going to be very difficult to take down. But Elijah as the fight goes on, he's also the type of guy that doesn't get tired. And as we've seen Chidi fade sometimes in the fight, you figure, he's going to get him down. He's going to start ground and pound and looking for submissions. But Chidi ended up pulling it out, and, hats off to him. I was very happy to see him win because we're fans here of Chidi, Andrew Kawani, Mr. Bang Bang. And everything looked sharp that night. Yeah. I gotta give him that.
Yeah, I was kind of interested to see how Eliza Zaleski dos Santos was actually going to be able to get inside on Chidi because, like Carlos said, the range and the length that he has at this weight class, 6'3" with I think it's something like 81 inch reach. So, he's very, very good fighting on the outside. On the inside, like Carlos said, he's very dangerous, and he proved that on Saturday. And Bisping always talks about his knees up the middle and his clinch and all that type of stuff, and he's got a really nice teep kick too. And my whole take with him is I think sky's the limit. I think he has all of the right tools, and I think maybe this is the weight class that he's able to strive in. And he looks pretty tough to hold down now too. In the last two fights I've seen, I know at middleweight he was getting taken down and held down and finished on the ground, but his last two fights he seems to be able to pop back up pretty easily as well. So it all seems to be coming together, other than maybe that one extra pound that he wasn't able to cut. But hopefully moving forward he sorts that out, and he looks like a problem in the division.
Oh, wait a minute. You do know he made weight for that fight, correct?
No. He missed weight by a small amount.
No, they said he was able to cut it and he was fine. He didn't
I
have to
thought that
give
was
up anything.
Musasa. I'm pretty sure that was Musasa that he missed weight and then they let him. The commission let him go back and do it. I'm not sure if that was Chidi.
Oh, I just remember them saying that right before the fight, but
I
it
mean,
could have been Musasa. Who
e-
knows? I was
e-
falling asleep.
either way. Well, that was because of the AJ fight probably put you to sleep, but. For Chidi as well, I will say as well. Like at the end of the day, 1 pound or a half pound. At the end of the day, that's not the end of the world. 5 pounds like Diyar, that's a bigger problem. But
Yeah.
for the main event, absolute slugfest, rock'em sock'em robots. We had Vettori and Dolidze too, the one that everybody wanted to see, and Vettori coming back after that shoulder injury. I got to admit, I was kind of annoyed at myself. On the betting show, I put Dolidze down as an underdog that we were going to bet on, so we did make some money with Dolidze. But I got to admit, on the breakdown, I wasn't confident in Vettori with the long layoff, and that's normally something I like to avoid is long layoffs and injuries. And I still picked Vettori with very little confidence, and I think you picked Vettori too. But the first 3 rounds to me kind of seemed very much like the first fight between these two guys, but the fourth and the fifth, Dolidze was able to just to kind of put a little bit more volume out there. I think he landed something like 42 significant strikes in the fifth round. So obviously his cardio and his lack of ring rust and his ability to actually push a pace was something that Vettori wasn't able to handle. And my only real thing that I took away from this fight was how does one of the judges get 49-46? Because to me, I had it 2-2 going into the fifth, and then I had Dolidze winning the fifth. I gave Vettori round 2 and round 4, I believe it was. One, I think it was the second round. I think Vettori was the one that he rocked Dolidze a little bit. And to me, I was a little bit confused by that scorecard, but like I said to Carlos before we got on air, the right result was Dolidze. Dolidze definitely won, regardless of whatever scorecard you did get. And maybe Vettori wasn't ready yet. Maybe he wasn't able to push the pace and fight 5 rounds comfortably like he'd been done in the past. And obviously he'd been off with a serious shoulder injury. So I don't necessarily take too much from that as far as Vettori. He looks pretty similar to what he did. I just think that he ran out of gas just due to inactivity in the shoulder. But Dolidze was able to get it done, and a call out of Israel Adesanya, which I think is a good call out for him as far as him being able to implement the grappling. And we've just seen Izzy get knocked out by Imavov. So I think to climb up the rankings, I think that's definitely a good call out for Dolidze. I think that there's multiple pathways to him winning that fight, and he cashed for us as an underdog for the best bets. And the beard Georgian strikes again. What did you make of the fight, Carlos, and what was your takeaways?
Well, from the start, you could just, like I said, you could see that there was, if you want to call it ring rust. I know Dominic Cruz says it's not real,
Hmm.
but if you want, I'll call it ring rust. Was heavy on Vettori throughout the entire fight. He looked like he was kind of stumbling over his own legs, even though like he does have like small stutter steps when he's moving. Um, it looked like he tripped over his feet a few times in the early rounds. Um, as he was trying to throw punches, you could tell that the mindset to throw was there. And when Dolidze kind of faded out of position for the strike, it looked like he was feinting a strike, but he was just like he was all in to throw. He just couldn't throw, so the timing was off. Um, Second round, he had a little success. There was an exchange. He was able to catch Dolidze, which I was kind of surprised. Dolidze can take a shot pretty good too,
Hmm.
and yeah, he was able to look decent for a minute. Next round comes up, and he's back to looking a little clumsy, maybe a little fatigued. I don't know. Like I didn't want to say it was fatigue. I just thought maybe he looked a little awkward, clumsy on the feet, but he probably was tired. I think he did look a little gassed to begin the second round as well.
Hmm.
But you know, Dolidze really likes that axe kick, and I can't tell if it's an axe kick or a front kick that he's trying to land. I don't know if he's trying to catch you on the way up or the way down because he doesn't bring his hip forward for the beginning of the kick or the end of the kick. So I don't know, but I'm just really jealous of his flexibility. I don't think I can do that without tearing my hamstring. But overall, pretty good fight, and yeah, I'm good with the decision as well.
What did you think of the call out of Izzy?
Of Izzy, um, the Izzy fan in me wants to say that's a bad call out, but in reality, I'm like, I think this is a winnable fight for him. I think
Yeah.
he can get Izzy up against the cage and get a takedown. And Izzy may be difficult to keep on the ground, but I think Izzy's going to get tired before Dolidze gets tired. He's used to that grappling and that grind, so he'll be okay with that and getting up and striking, whereas Izzy's not really comfortable doing both. And he could have success with that. And forget the grappling part. Like, if he lands a shot on Izzy, like, probably going to hurt him. So I don't know. Going on with Izzy. I was a big Izzy fan, and I still am. I like the guy. I think he's funny, but I just I don't know. I just don't think it's as clear cut as I used to just come in and be like, oh no, Izzy, that's a bad matchup for him. Now I'm like, winnable. It's a good win. So
I
I don't know.
personally think that Dolidze is a pretty tough matchup for Izzy. Just before we kind of break things down here, and I just personally believe if you look at Dolidze's track record, he likes to fight on the feet, very tough, very hard to get out of there. Big, good chin, can fight 5 rounds now, proven. And I think the way that Izzy's trending as well, I think that we're not going to necessarily see the best Izzy from here on to the rest of his career. I think he's in his 35, 34, 36, something like that now. I know Dolidze is also in that ballpark, but got momentum, and I think that the tail end of that fight would be Dolidze's ability to wrestle, and he has high level, grappling and jiu-jitsu. I'm not 100% on the title of what he has achieved in jiu-jitsu, but the guy is actually better on the ground than he is on the feet. And not that he's a world beater on the feet, but he has power and toughness. And like I said, I just think that's a bad matchup for Izzy, considering that he has multiple pathways. I think that he can, find a way to win. And I'm a fan of the Georgian. I like his kind of no bullshit attitude, and he comes to fight. At the end of the day, he's never sort of backing off, and he likes to try and go for the finish. He does spam the right hand a little bit too much, but he comes to fight, and that's what we like. That's what we want to see from guys who are trying to climb the ranks. We're not looking for decision merchants and crotch sniffers. We're looking for guys that show up to fight, and Dolidze definitely does that. So, big fan of him, and yeah. Happy with the fight, happy with the card overall, and that kind of brings us onto what I want to talk about. It's just Wednesday. We have a full card breakdown, guys. Check that out for the upcoming fight between Leon Edwards and Sean Brady, taking place at the I believe it's the O2 in London this Saturday. We're going to be doing a full card breakdown like we do every week, so keep an eye out for that on Wednesday. USA taking on England, so obviously Carlos coming from the USA, me coming from England, things could get very heated on that full card breakdown, sticking up for our guys and who we have in those matchups, so keep an eye out for that. Hit the like and subscribe button like we always tell you guys to do if you've enjoyed the content. And if you guys are interested, obviously, if you're a gambler and you want to put some money on the fights, so far we've done very well in the first 2 best bets videos, but keep an eye out for those videos coming out on a Friday. We go through all of the best bets that I have on the UFC card each week. I have a nice underdog play for this week that I like coming up for Dog of the Week. And yeah, that's all that we have time for. And if you've enjoyed the breakdown, like I said, hit that like and subscribe button. Carlos, is there anything that you want to say to the people before we wrap things up? And if that's not worth a like and
No,
subscribe, I don't know what is. I don't know what is.
yeah, I wish I had any more to add to that. Just hope you guys are enjoying the content in the comment section. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if I'm putting you to sleep with this voice here, because I hear it. I'm a little nasally. That's not because I'm sick or anything like that. It's just how I sound. So maybe I'll try to sound a little bit more upbeat. I don't know. Just let us know.
You got to pull it out
What
of the
else we can
fire, son.
add. Yeah.
But tune in next week, guys. Like I said, hit that like and subscribe button. As always, we'll catch you guys next week. Check out the video on Wednesday and Friday coming out. Thanks for all your support. Peace.
Peace.